Sometimes you don't even recognize what's breaking you. It's not the loud betrayals, not the shouting matches, not even the final goodbye. It's the slow unraveling, the way someone rewrites your worth in silence, the way their words sound sweet, but hollow, the way they say they care, but every part of you feels emptier after they speak. And the worst part, you start questioning yourself. You start asking if maybe you're just too sensitive. Maybe it's your fault for needing more. Maybe they're right. Maybe you expect too much. So you shrink. You nod, you stay. And every day you lose pieces of yourself trying to hold on to something that doesn't hold you back. But hear this clearly when someone reveals themselves through what they say, and how they say it. It's not a coincidence. It's a warning, because words are not just sounds, they are signals. They are confessions dressed as conversation. And when someone tells you certain things, it's not love, it's not honesty, it's a red flag wrapped in charm. And the truth is, if you ignore these signs, you don't just risk heartbreak. You risk losing yourself in the name of being loyal to someone who doesn't deserve your silence. So if you've ever felt confused by what someone said, if your heart screamed no while your mind kept making excuses, this video is your wake-up call. You deserve clarity, you deserve peace, you deserve to leave when your soul no longer feels safe. Watch this video till the end. It may just save your future. Subscribe and like if you're ready to reclaim your power. It always starts small. A sigh, a shrug, a quick roll of the eyes followed by, "You're overreacting." You pause for a moment. You wonder if maybe you are making a big deal out of nothing. Maybe you just misunderstood. Maybe you're being too emotional, too sensitive, too whatever they want to call it today. But deep down, something in you shifts. A quiet voice says, "Wait, I felt that it hurt." But you bury it. You swallow it. Because when someone you care about tells you you're overreacting, it doesn't just question your emotion. It questions your sanity. It's not just a disagreement. It's a rewriting of your experience. It's someone looking you in the eye and saying, your truth doesn't matter. And over time, that adds up. You start hesitating before speaking. You rehearse your feelings in your head before saying them aloud. You start policing your own emotions before anyone else even reacts. That's what emotional invalidation does. It doesn't scream. It whispers doubt into every corner of your mind. You begin to second, guess everything, not just what you feel, but whether you're allowed to feel it. And that's where the danger begins. Because the moment you start distrusting your own emotional compass, you become vulnerable to control. Not just from others, but from the version of yourself that's scared to make a mistake, scared to feel too much, scared to need something real. You start to live in a world where you can't even trust your own heart. And the worst part, you become grateful for breadcrumbs. You say thank you when they don't dismiss you. You convince yourself that silence is peace, even when your insides are screaming. But hear this, your feelings are not flaws. Your emotions are not inconveniences. They are signals, messages, clues to something deeper going on inside. When someone tells you that you're overreacting, they're not offering perspective. They're shutting a door. They're making you small enough to manage. And if you accept it long enough, you forget you were ever meant to take up space in the first place. So here's the truth they hope you'll never say out loud. You're not overreacting. You're reacting to a reality they refuse to admit. You're responding to the disrespect they try to wrap in calm tones. You're feeling exactly what someone who deserves love and clarity should feel when they're being slowly erased. Stop asking if your feelings are too much. Start asking why they're not enough to matter to the person you're giving them to. That's not an overreaction. That's a survival instinct. And it's time you start listening to it. There's a moment, maybe you've felt it, when someone looks at you not with love, but with quiet disgust and still stays. Not to support you, not to grow with you, but to remind you that they could leave, and they haven't, and that you should be thankful for that. They don't say it in a shout. They say it with a smirk, or a sigh, or that one loaded sentence that cuts deeper than anything else. You're lucky I put up with you. Those words don't come from love. They come from control, from someone who wants you to believe that their tolerance is a gift. Not their respect, not their presence, just their willingness to tolerate you like you're a burden they've been so generous to carry. And slowly, something inside you folds. You start thinking, maybe I am too much. Maybe I should be grateful someone's even here. Maybe this is the best I can get. That's how they get you to settle for crumbs. That's how they keep you in place. Not through threats, but through conditioning. They drip, feed you just enough presence to keep you attached, and just enough rejection to keep you feeling unworthy. You begin to confuse endurance with love. You mistake being tolerated for being chosen. But the truth is, anyone who makes you feel like love is something you have to earn, is already loving you wrong. Love is not a favor. Respect is not a reward. No one gets to stay in your life while making you feel like you should apologize for needing them. So look closer. Is their love a safe place or a silent prison? Because anyone who truly loves you doesn't remind you they stayed. They remind you that you're worth staying for. You are not lucky they stayed. They are lucky they were loved by someone willing to fight, feel, and forgive. And if they can't see that, then maybe it's time they go find whatever they think they're putting up with, while you go find someone who sees you as a blessing, not a burden. You're too much, said like a joke, said with a laugh, said like it's nothing, but it lingers. It hits somewhere deeper than the words should reach. Because it's not just what they're saying. It's what they're trying to make you believe. Too emotional, too intense, too complicated, too loud, too honest, too real, and suddenly everything you used to love about yourself, your passion, your sensitivity, your fire starts to feel like a liability. You start holding yourself back, softening your truth, editing your emotions in real time just to be easier to be around. Because deep down, you're terrified that if you bring your full self to the table, they'll walk away. That's what happens when people shame you for being too much. They're not saying you are too much. They're saying they're not enough to meet you where you are, but they won't admit that, so instead they flip it. They frame your depth as dysfunction, your vulnerability as drama, your energy as a problem to manage, not a gift to embrace. And if you're not careful, you start believing them. You start craving acceptance more than authenticity. You start choosing silence over connection. You start erasing yourself piece by piece to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be filtered, edited, or tamed. You are not too much. You've just spent too long around people who are too little in courage, too little in presence, too little in their own emotional depth to handle the realness of you. So stop apologizing for being whole. Stop negotiating with people who only want the parts of you they can manage. Stop shrinking to fit inside relationships that can't hold your truth. You don't need to become less. You need to be around more. More honesty, more heart, more humanity. Because someone out there isn't afraid of your depth. They're drowning in shallow people, and praying to meet someone who finally feels real. And when they find you, they'll say, "You're not too much, you're exactly what I've been missing." It's one of the most disorienting feelings in the world, knowing you heard something, knowing it happened, and then being told, with a straight face, that it didn't. "I never said that." You stand there confused, not because you're wrong, but because someone is looking you in the eye and trying to rewrite your memory. That's not a simple denial. That's gaslighting, and it's not always loud. It's subtle, it's slow, it's calculated. It's someone playing with the edges of your reality until you're not even sure what's real anymore. At first you argue, you defend your version, you fight to hold on to what you know you saw, felt, heard. But over time something shifts. You stop pushing back, not because you agree, but because the exhaustion of constantly defending your truth starts to wear you down. You begin to question yourself. Did I imagine it? Did I take it the wrong way? Maybe I'm just being too sensitive. And that's when they win. Because gaslighting isn't about making you believe them. It's about making you stop believing you. And once they do that, they can twist any story, shift any blame, erase any damage they've done, and leave you carrying the shame of it all. But here's what they don't expect: that eventually you'll wake up, that the confusion will clear, that your instinct will grow louder than their voice. Because somewhere in the middle of all the self-doubt, there's still a part of you that knows, that remembers, that keeps track, that refuses to forget who you were before they made you question your own mind. That part of you is not broken. It's buried, and it's waiting for you to stop asking for permission to trust yourself again. You don't need them to confirm your truth. You don't need to convince them of what really happened. You only need to reclaim your voice and believe it the first time. Because your memory is not the problem, their manipulation is. And the moment you stop looking to them for validation is the moment you start healing. That's when the cycle breaks. That's when you begin again. There's a kind of cruelty that doesn't yell. It whispers, it leans in during your lowest moment and says, no one else would put up with you, not to help you, but to trap you, to make you believe that their presence, no matter how cold, how critical, how conditional, is the best you'll ever get. And when you're tired, when your confidence is worn thin, when you've already started to feel like a burden, those words don't feel like an insult. They feel like the truth. You begin to measure your worth through their tolerance. You begin to settle not for love, but for permission to exist in someone else's space. That's the power of fear. Not the fear of being alone, but the fear that maybe you're not lovable enough for anything more. That maybe your flaws are too much, your baggage too heavy, your wounds too visible for anyone else to hold. So you stay, you justify, you call it loyalty, but really it's survival, it's scarcity, it's the belief that love is a rare resource and you should be grateful for scraps. But that belief, that fear, it's a lie someone gave you to keep you small, because when someone truly values you, they don't weaponize your insecurities. They don't make you beg for belonging. They don't stay just to remind you that they could leave. Here's the truth they don't want you to remember. You've always had options. You've always had worth. You just forgot what it feels like to be seen clearly and loved fully. You are not lucky that someone stayed and criticized you. You are powerful for having endured it this long, but endurance is not love. Sacrifice without dignity is not a relationship, it's a trap. And no matter what they say, someone else will love you. Someone else will see you, not just the best parts. All of you, so don't stay where you're only half. Welcome. Don't cling to the person who convinced you that loneliness is worse than disrespect. The loneliest place in the world is beside someone who makes you feel unworthy of more. You deserve more. And the moment you believe that, everything changes. It's a quiet kind of disrespect, not the kind that slams doors or throws words like knives. It's the kind that looks you in the eye while you're opening your heart and rolls its eyes. You're being dramatic. Just like that, everything you feel is dismissed, labeled, reduced, not because it's not real, but because it's inconvenient. That's what this phrase does. It turns your emotions into a performance, as if pain only matters when it's calm, as if you're not allowed to feel fully unless your feelings make someone else comfortable. And when you hear it enough times, you start doing the work for them. You downplay your needs, you hide your hurt, you turn your anger into quiet smiles and your sadness into silence, because anything louder than that gets called too much. That's how disrespect becomes normal. It doesn't show up all at once. It wears a mask. It wraps itself in words like relax, chill, don't take it so seriously. And before you even realize it, you've learned how to betray yourself just to keep the peace. But peace without honesty isn't peace. It's control. The moment someone tells you you're being dramatic for feeling something deeply, what they're really saying is, I don't want to deal with this, not this, as in the situation, this as in you. And if someone can't sit with your truth, your raw, unfiltered truth, they don't deserve access to your vulnerability. Because your pain is not a show. It's not a script for someone else to edit. It's yours, it's real, and it deserves to be held, not dismissed. So stop letting people write off your heart as exaggeration. Stop shrinking your expression just to avoid being labeled. And most of all, stop thinking you need to be less emotional to be more lovable. You don't need to explain why you feel. You don't need to justify the depth of your experience. You only need to remember this. The moment someone tries to shame your emotions, they're showing you the limits of their capacity, not the worth of your feelings. You are not dramatic. You are awake. Don't ever apologize for that.